Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Psalms, the 31st chapter. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. In thee, O Yahweh, do I put my trust. Let me never be ashamed. Deliver me in thy righteousness. Bow down thine ear to me. When you bow down your ears, you listen, right? Imagine somebody that's like, if you have like a child, right? They're young, so they're short, they're small, and they're saying something. Sometimes you gotta, if it's loud, right, you gotta come down and then listen, right? You bring the side of your face closer to hear what they're saying. That's an example of bowing down your ear to hear. And that's what David is beseeching the Lord for, right? Deliver me speedily. Be thou my rock, my defense. For an house of defense to save me, which the Lord is our rock. He is our defense, right? Pursuant to Proverbs 18:10. For thou art my rock and my fortress. Therefore, for thy name's sake, lead me and guide me. So what does it mean for thy name's sake? For your reputation's sake. All right, the Lord is known, as he has said, to deliver the righteous, to deliver those that call upon him. So as David is saying, for your name's sake, for what you're known for, deliver me, guide me. Pull me out of the net that they have laid privately for me, for thou art my strength. That net is a trap. Right, so he's saying the trap that is set by my adversaries, that have laid for me secretly, pull me out of it. Right, because you are my strength. I depend on you. Into thine hand I commit my spirit. Thou hast redeemed me, O Yahweh, God of truth. And this was fulfilled in Yahweh Shai, right? Verse 5. Here in the book, let's go real quick to the book of Luke, chapter 23, verse 46. Right, it says here, and just getting straight to the point, upon Yahweh Shai's death. Let's put the red letter on. And when Yahweh Shai had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. Okay, going back to Psalm 31 and 5, right? Into thine hand I commit my spirit. Thou hast redeemed me, O Lord God of truth. I have hated them that regard lying vanities, but I trust in the Lord, right? And those that regard lying vanities, as it says, they are enemies of the Lord, but the enemies of the Lord are our enemies, right? So we don't associate or have fellowship with those that regard lying vanities. Let's read that here in the NLT. I hate those who worship worthless idols. I trust the Lord. See that? That's the lying vanities. But I will be glad and rejoice in thy mercy, for thou hast considered my trouble. Thou hast known my soul in adversities, right? See, you've been there. You've been there for me. You've seen the trouble that I'm in, and you've as it says, you've known my soul in adversities. Right? In the NLT says, I will be glad and rejoice in your unfailing love, for you have seen my troubles and you care about the anguish of my soul. So what does that mean? Knowing that you have the power to deliver me, I'm going to be comforted in that, right? Because if you know that the Lord cares about you and he has the power to deliver you and he sees the trouble you're in, then you're good. That means everything is under control because he can deliver you. And has not shut me up into the hand of the enemy, right? You haven't given me up into the hand of my adversaries, of my enemies. Thou hast set my feet in a large room. Okay, and it's reading that in the NLT, but it's basically stability, right? You have not handed me over to my enemies, but have set me in a safe place. Have mercy upon me, O Yahweh, for I am in trouble. Mine eye is consumed with grief, yea, my soul and my belly. For my life is spent with grief, and my years with sighing. My strength faileth because of mine iniquity, and my bones are consumed. And likewise for us, right? We were brought low, separated from the power and the strength that comes from our power because of what? Our iniquity, our sins. Okay, so my bones are consumed, meaning I've been made weak, right? Because your bones are a part of your foundational parts. Like when somebody dies and everything breaks down, you know what's left? Their bones, their skeleton, their skull. Okay, so that's like a part of your foundational, right? Your foundational parts, your reins. Okay, and David is saying that here, right? That I'm weak. I'm weak without you, right? Due to my iniquities, I was a reproach among all mine enemies, but especially among my neighbors, and a fear to my acquaintance. They that did see me without fled from me. See, and here he's also going into those that were, neighbors, those that were close. Okay, and it says they fled without. When they saw me without, meaning when they saw me outside, they didn't even, try to help. They didn't try to come close. Right? NLT, I am scorned by all my enemies and despised by my neighbors. Even my friends are afraid to come near me. Sort of like what Job went through. When they see me on the street, they run the other way. Right? As being reproached. Verse 12, I am forgotten as a dead man out of mind. I am like a broken vessel. See, like when somebody dies and eventually, you talk about them less and less, and then they're just like low-key forgotten. It says here, I am a broken vessel, right? Like a broken vessel, nobody's using that anymore. You cast that away somewhere and then you forget about it. Do you remember the jug you used? Unless you're a very special person who dedicates jugs, or you're just like, you like to keep the same thing for a long time. But the jug that you had, or the cup you had, maybe you had a favorite cup or a cup you used to use when you were just like a kid. It's probably not there anymore, right? Likely, broke, or you just left it, or something happened to it. But you don't wake up thinking about that. Okay. So that's what he's saying here. It's like, I've been forgotten, I've been cast away. For I have heard the slander of many. Fear was on every side. While they took counsel together against me, they devised to take away my life. You see, and David suffered that. And guess what? We're also in that stead. Except those that are seeking to take our life are actually ones who, as it would seem, have power to, right, through their sword, right? Deliver me from the hand of the wicked, which is thy sword. But what? But I trusted in thee, O Yahweh. I said, thou art my God. And just like in prophecy, how would the elect gain the victory over him that is seeking to take away their life? By trusting in the Lord, right? Through the blood of the Lamb and his testimony. My times are in thy hand. Deliver me from the hand of mine enemies and from them that persecute me. Right? Let's go into that in the NLT. Right? My times, or my future, right, is in your hands, is in your control, is in your power. Rescue me from those who will hunt me down relentlessly. So you see here, as you read the Psalms, David is not boasting here. Now, he never boasts in here about his power. Lord, because you made me able to jump, leap over walls. I'm writing a psalm here about how badass I was. I told my enemies, yo, go ask Goliath. Oh, wait, you can't because he's dead. And you're going to end up like him if you don't back up. That's not what he's saying. David was a mighty man, but you read the Psalms, you think, damn, David, when in reference to the Lord, he sounds like a young, scared child, right? That's constantly, like those children, right? You watch like a certain TV show or a movie, and there's that child that can't do anything without their father. They're just like always calling for their father, and if they one time they get separated from their father, whoever it is that is around, that is adverse to that child, will say, look, what are you going to do now that your father's not here, right? You can't do anything now, can you? See, and that's the position that we're in, and quite literally so. It's not to sound like we're tough guys or anything, because in actuality, we can't do anything without the power of our Father, right? And our big brother Yahushai, right? Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. So David always sounded like that, right? One that without the help of his father, would not be able to do anything. But when you look at his actions, you're like, damn, he was a mighty man, but he never boasted in that. Okay, and that was a part of what the Lord loved about him. It says here, make thy face to shine upon thy servant, save me for thy mercy's sake. Right, for thy mercy's sake. And that's one thing to always keep in mind. You know, it's not the mindset like how should I mention about the praying publican, the prayer of the publican and the prayer of the was it a Pharisee? And in his mind, he's basically justifying himself before the Lord, right? Oh Lord, I'm grateful that I'm not like this publican, for I pay tithes, this many times a week. I pray this many times. I do this, I do that, I do this. If the Lord's looking at you like, okay, so if you're Mr. Perfect, what are you praying to me for? The publican said that he couldn't even lift up his head to the Lord for how sinful he was, and he acknowledged that. And the Lord sees that, and that's what begs mercy. That says he needs mercy. If you coming up here sounding justified, why would okay, so what do I need to have mercy for? Okay? So the Lord here, and when you pray to the Lord, you got to keep that in mind. It's the mercy of the Lord. It's for his mercy's sake. Have mercy, have mercy. That's why the Lord, has mercy on us. That's why he delivers us from the things we go through. And ultimately why he'll deliver us, Lord willing, from this ultimate destruction for his mercy's sake. Let me not be ashamed, O Lord, for I have called upon thee. See, and we're not going to be ashamed, right? Because we know that the Lord's power is real. He's true. And we've called upon the Lord. And when we put the Lord's name out there, and you call upon the Lord, just like he showed up for Elijah against the prophets of Baal, you best believe the Lord is going to show up. Let the wicked be ashamed, and let them be silent in the grave. See, let them be ashamed. Put them in the grave with no words to say. Quiet. Let them hurry to scramble and dig down and want to hide themselves in the grave. Don't let me be disgraced, O Lord, for I call out to you for help. Let the wicked be disgraced. Let them lie silent in the grave. Yeah, in the Hebrew Sha'awal, which as a matter of fact, oh, that's great. That showed that, right? So now let's click into that word grave here, right? In the Hebrew, in the Hebrew. You see that? Sha'awal, grave. What's that? Strong's H7585. Now let's look at the outline of biblical usages, right? When regarding ignoring this part here, it's the same word, Sha'awal, which means grave, that you see here. It's translated as grave 31 times in the Bible, but it's translated as hell 31 times as well, and sometimes as the pit 31 times. All these three words in English go back to the same Hebrew word, Sha'awal, and it's referring to the same thing, the grave. Okay? So when you see in different verses, you'll see it says grave, 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 and then it'll say pit. Then it'll say what? Hell. Burn into the lowest hell. Okay? It says the sorrows of hell. So it's the same word. It's just here, the wording that was used was hell, but it's referring to the same place, the grave. Okay? Not a place where you go and burn forever. And it mentions the deeper than hell, because where's the grave? In the ground. Down. You dig deep into the earth. That's the grave. That's the pit. Why do you think it's likened on to being a pit? Okay, so going back to, Psalm 22, continuing from where we left off, just wanted to point that out in there. Verse 18, it says, let the lying lips be put to silence, which speak grievous things proudly and contemptuously against the righteous. See, and we're seeing that now, right? Who's speaking these things? Who? The accuser of our brethren, right? They're speaking grievous things proudly against the righteous, against the Lord, against his anointed. But as it says, let them be put to silence, and the Lord will silence them. Oh, how great is thy goodness, which thou hast laid up for them which fear thee. When you lay something up, it's like you reserve it. You store it as treasure for them, which thou hast wrought for them that trust in thee before the sons of men. You see that? The Lord has laid up treasures. That's the treasures in heaven. Okay, how great is the goodness you have stored up for those who fear you. You lavish it on those who come to your protection, to you for protection, blessing them before the watching world. Okay, it said, "I have not seen, neither ear heard, nor hath it entered into the minds of men what the Lord has prepared for them that love Him." So just imagine that. Those are things also stored up for them. Lord willing for us, thou hast hid them in the secret of thy presence from the pride of man. Thou shalt keep them secretly in a pavilion or a tabernacle from the strife of tongues. You see, that's protection and the preserving of those that come to seek the Lord. Right? It says here in the NLT, you hide them in the shelter of your presence, safe from those who conspire against them. You shelter them, Proverbs 18:10. You shelter them in your presence, far from accusing tongues. The scriptures also say that any tongue that riseth against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This honor have all his saints. Right? And their what was it? Their let me see, it's of me. It's kind of like their authority. Let me see it. See if I can find that. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Isaiah 54:17. It says, "No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the saints of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord." The Lord co-signed it. He stamped it. Boom. Okay. So where we at? Verse 21. "Blessed be the Lord Yahweh, for he hath shewed me his marvelous kindness in a strong city." Okay, it says, "Praise the Lord, for he has shewed me the words of his unfailing love. He kept me safe when my city was under attack." Okay, and that city, is likened onto, you, right? Us, right? We're that in this time, that temple that's going to be under attack, but what? The Lord is going to deliver us. Okay, he is going to show us that marvelous kindness to be marveled at. "For I said in my haste, I am cut off from before thine eyes. Nevertheless, thou heardest the voice of my supplication when I cried unto thee," right? Because that's that when the enemy shall come in like a flood, right? Because it seemed, right, as David said, I'm cut off. That's it. It's over for me. But the Lord heard. He heard the supplication and intervened. "Oh, love the Lord Yahweh, all ye his saints. For the Lord preserveth the faithful, and plentifully rewardeth the proud doer." And that the preserving of the faithful, right, is to preserve them, to keep them safe, provide for them. And the saints are Israelites. The faithful are the elect. The plentiful reward is not that he's rewarding them in abundant, as in goodness. Okay? It says here, he harshly punishes the arrogant. So you can think of it like an abundance of punishment. That's the reward of the proud doer. "Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in the Lord." And that's the end of the book of Psalms, the 31st chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.